Yes, I mean, I imagine you came here as a kid.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I got asked earlier that, if it was a long 365 days we were in the Xfinity car and got wrecked really early. It wasn't like I expected that time to, hopefully be back in an Xfinity car, let alone a Cup car. So the speed to get in a Cup car wasn't very long at all in comparison to what I thought that day. But the wait to get back here was definitely long.
You obviously short track routes. Denny Hamlin earlier advocated for using the tap out rule. Would that be something you would want to see in Cup?
I've raced only tap out rules once at Slinger, and a lot of times nobody even tapped out. I don't know. Denny's been around here a lot longer, and he would have he has a lot bigger of a voice. For me, I'm just trying to make sure I run 8th every week or top 10, top 15. That's what I'm worried about more than anything than sitting here wanting to lobby for rule changes. But, yeah.
Your father obviously drove late models, your grandfather, Butch. In terms of what is acceptable in the racing line and that, how are you brought up on what is kosher versus not?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard question, right? I think everybody has their own different feelings towards it. But to me, inside the car, I think Eldon Sawyer said it, right, in one of his interviews. I feel like drivers know, right? And they know where the line's at, but at the same time, right, are you willing to cross that line? And even if you're not proud of it, right? Like, obviously, wins are so hard to come by. So, like I said, I think everyone knows kind of where a respectful line is, but it's kind of if you're willing to cross it, and what kind of the circumstances are.
And in terms of the penalty, was that sufficient? Obviously, because it varies per series and per what Cup, Xfinity trucks, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think. To me, I thought the penalties kind of fit what happened, right, all the way through. Personally, like I said, it's way above my pay grade to know what the right penalties are, but I don't know. That's just such a hard situation, right? Like, obviously, 3 cars, like 3/4 of a lap away from winning that thing fair and square and beating us all night. So it's so hard, but yeah, I think when it came down to it, I thought the penalties fit fairly well.
Austin, you've come up through the ranks. You ran ARCA, Trucks, Xfinity, and now Cup. As Richmond unfolded with the last lap, as you go through the ranks, how do you increasingly distinguish what is acceptable versus not in the sport?
I think that's continually being redefined, right? I mean, I think from a historian standpoint, you have to look at the playoff format and realize how much more important a win is. But also, I think from a sporting standpoint and integrity standpoint, you have to understand, what's right, what's acceptable, and what's not. I mean, you look at other racing series, most of what we do from a week-to-week basis usually would have some sort of a ramification, even if it's incidental contact. So from that side of things, I think there's a lot to learn as far as where we stand as a sport and continue to grow. But I think probably in the next month or so, I think the clarity will probably be a little more than what it is after last weekend. But I think they definitely defined a line, that's for sure.
And with, like you say, you would receive a penalty for it. Denny Hamlin advocated for the tap-out rule in his presser. Is that something you would like to see, or?
I guess I don't understand the tap-out rule.
Tap-out rule would be if you were to spin or tap another driver where they spin, you both would go to the tail end of the longest line.
Just like anything, it comes to discretion. I think that's just as challenging as anything else, and I think NASCAR in this sport, tries to put the drivers in a position to where we're not, having to be officiated. The self-policing side of things has definitely been more of the culture. And yeah, where do you draw that line?
In the playoffs on the way, would you feel like you would need to do that, like at Bristol, to advance, and would you do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculative, right? But I think, defining what that line is, and it's not something we've necessarily seen happen to get into playoff spot. I mean, we've seen drivers do desperate things, to make another round or get to the championship 4 or get into the playoffs. So as far as, what would and I wouldn't do, I look at that situation and, do you even think that that's possible sitting behind the driver's seat to be able to kind of come up with a combo shot and win the race still? So I think it's hard to put yourself in that position, but I think in the next month or so, I think that line will be pretty crystal clear.
Because they're going to keep officiate. They're going to officiate more in the moment.
Well, I think we will have a better understanding. You know, there's the appeals and all that. And we had our meeting with NASCAR today, and so I think for their standpoint, like really explain to us like exactly why this crossed the line. I mean, I think we all understand to a certain level that it crosses the line, integrity and all that. Like you can totally see both sides, but from NASCAR's side, like the better that we can be, it can be described to us on why this crossed the line. Like what we bring things to the limit, right? And so what's below that limit? What's just behind the line in the sand? Like, can I still run over somebody to win a race or get a spot, or is that now completely over? I just can't wreck two people. Like, what's the difference there? But I think that line will be more defined probably in the coming weeks.
And what they told us was that it was basically the totality of the situation. Were they more specific with you guys?
No, we didn't even discuss it today. Just I think with the appeal and all that becomes a conflict of interest. So I think for us it's just learning from this. I mean, it's kind of a first time for the playoff area for something like that to happen, and I think it'll be a game changer for everyone.
So you need some more specifics in terms of clarity. After the appeal is done, you feel like you can get some more specifics in terms of clarity on what is sort of the gray area, what's the line, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think for us, getting explained like how and why the decision was made and what made certain things. I mean, obviously from a safety perspective, obviously Joey spinning out or whatever, that's a racing incident, but obviously, getting right hooked into the wall, that's been a pretty clear defined, issue, NASCAR's, within the last every year I've done Cup, that's been a pretty defined no. So I think is that as simple as why this was called the way it was, or was it more than that? So just having more clarity, I think would benefit everyone, and I understand like why I don't have it 5 days after for sure.
Just fell off quick, so confidence not too high right now.
What do you think of Michigan, and how does it fit in with the rest of the tracks on the schedule? We used to have two mile tracks. We ran 3 times during the season there. Now it's kind of its own thing. Does it work toward any other tracks, or is it kind of its own beast now?
Obviously Michigan and Fontana used to be really similar. I felt like it's been a fun track. I've had a lot of good runs here in the Xfinity Series, so it's definitely a fun track to race. Tomorrow's going to be, there's a lot that happens on these races, right? Track position is going to be really important. We just got to make our car a little bit better and hopefully hold on to the track position we have.
Did you learn enough in practice, or would you like to have some more time out there?
It's hard having one set of tires. It's a 40-minute session. I mean, obviously it got broke up with the rain, but we only had one set of tires. Really, we made enough adjustments, so we probably needed to put another set of tires on and kind of re-baseline and see where we're at to know. But we got a lot of things to look at overnight to do better tomorrow.
Thanks, good luck.
The Cars Tour, where you got your start, uses the tap out rule a ton, and Denny Hamlin in his presser today said he would like to see NASCAR implement that in some fashion. Would you agree with that statement?
It's hard to say. You walk a fine line there, but the reality of it is that when you're growing up learning how to race, pretty much every series imaginable, from bandoleros to go-karts to legend cars, late models, if you spin the leader out really at all, especially on the last lap, you take a penalty for it. And NASCAR's kind of never really been that way. So it's a fine line of getting away from what they've always done versus deciding to interfere. So I don't know that I have the answer for that, right? I think we leave that up to NASCAR, but how I grew up racing, I knew that if I wrecked the leader on the last lap, I would probably go to the back. And some people grew up racing and don't expect that penalty. So, we'll just have to let them decide how to officiate.
Does that better establish that line of what is acceptable versus what is not in terms of teaching drivers?
That's what it's most definitely designed for. But you watch NASCAR racing growing up, and you see that it's not exactly like that here. So, like I said, it's a fine line of how you want to officiate and how to do it going forward. But Yeah, and I think I think that's a reasonable expectation that if you rank the leader, that you should get penalty at least, maybe 2 liters.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Christopher DeHardy with Frontstretch.com. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like button and subscribe for some more great racing content.